right, folks, we are back here on WLTH 1370 AM. And we just had a caller who hung up. If you're listening out there, caller, please give us a call back. 219-885-1371 for everybody else out there. I am Scott Cannon. Over there is Reverend Delwyn Campbell. And we are going through the news, what happened. And, of course, at the beginning of the show, I played our President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. talking about how he was signing the bill to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. So yes, the United States Senate has unanimously passed a bill to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. According to ABC News, the bipartisan legislation was approved Tuesday afternoon, just hours after Ron Johnson, the same one who was thrown off of YouTube for telling people to take ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, in spite of the fact that other countries and other studies have shown that it is effective against the COVID-19 virus. He also announced that he would drop his objection to the bill. He blocked a similar resolution last year, citing concerns over the measure's cost. Juneteenth will be celebrated this Saturday, so it's not even going to be celebrated on a work day.
Nope.
So memorializes the day that formerly enslaved African Americans learned about their freedom. They received the news on June 19th, 1865, more than 2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Texas was the first to recognize Juneteenth as a holiday in 1980. Since then, 48 states in the District of Columbia have passed similar measures, establishing the day as a state or ceremonial holiday. South Dakota is the only one that is yet to do so. So to me, look, I've been involved for many years. I was involved with helping to put together the Juneteenth program at Roosevelt. I've attended Juneteenth celebrations over the years. But looking at this and the timing of this, I can't help, Rev, but see this is solely more symbolism from the corporate sellout liberal Democrat Party. The people, you notice Joe Biden has not said the word reparations since he's been in office. We're going to talk about the promises that he's broken.
That language.
Yeah, he's broken a lot of promises specifically to the black community. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But this is just more symbolism to me. This isn't even being celebrated on a weekday. Kids aren't even in school at this point of the year. So this is solely symbolism. This is solely more symbolic victories for the black community so that politicians can say, well, I got Juneteenth, but I made Juneteenth a federal holiday. So what say you, Rev?
They just messed up our day, man.
Yes.
I mean, every comment I heard made Juneteenth sound like a day that will live in infamy.
Exactly.
They made it sound like Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah.
The reality is, I used to live in California. Every year at Juneteenth, we used to have a big celebration in Oceanside. Big time celebration. Great celebration. I've heard of other towns that had celebrations. They were always great, wonderful, fantastic celebrations of us. And now they come and spat a hookie in our gumbo. By the time they finish with it, nobody's gonna celebrate Juneteenth.
Right, it'd be like Black History Month.
Yeah, man.
I can understand that. Anybody out there, let us know how you feel about Juneteenth. I'm just tired of the symbolism. I am sick and tired of the symbolism. I am sick and tired of the black community asking for police reform or an end to the war on drugs in the prison industrial complex, or even the military industrial complex, which is bombing our brothers and sisters in Africa and the Middle East. I am sick and tired of things like this, symbolic gestures being put forth by especially the Democratic Party. At least in most cases, the Republican parties don't even patronize us in that way. They just say, hey, we don't care, which is in my opinion more respectful, which is why Malcolm X always talked about the difference between liberals and conservatives being that conservatives are the wolf while liberals are the fox. You know, the wolf is just who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I never went crazy over Donald Trump. Black people all over the world hyperventilated about Donald Trump. Oh my God, Donald Trump. I said, like Farrakhan said, Trump is who he is. Okay? You may not like Trump's style. You may not like the thing he says. You may not like the thing he does. But he is, at least, he respects you enough to see the devil that he is. As opposed to the foxes, the Obamas of the world, the Clintons of the world, the Biden and Harrises of the world, these people who grin at you while helping to mass incarcerate you, while bombing 7 countries at once in Africa and everything else, while destroying welfare and deregulating Wall Street and all these things that they've done over the last 30 years, handing our media over to the conglomerates with the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which was what we talked about on its anniversary a few months ago. You could go through the archives and see that. We talked about the Telecommunications Act of 96, signed by one William Jefferson Clinton. But we get all these symbolic gestures.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I still think about all the stuff that we've gone through for decades to get affirmative action and then have that get, gutted and pirated away.
For white women and gays and everyone else, illegal immigrants.
All the work that we did to get redlining off the table, only to have that gutted by lending policies that accomplish the same thing, just doesn't have, they just use credit scores. Use that. And now this. We didn't need their permission to celebrate our day.
Exactly.
We were doing just fine without it.
We absolutely were.
And you know what? I'm not a prophet, so I'm not gonna give you a date. But I tell you, it won't be long before you're gonna be hearing somebody else demanding their day.
Oh yeah. It's
a bunch of somebody else's are going to be demanding their holiday.
Well, we're already in Pride Month, so it's only a matter of time before we have Stonewall Day. But before we move on, I just wanted to play what activist Opal Lee had to say about Juneteenth, and how she really hopes the day inspires young people, because I do like what she had to say. It's important to stay vigilant in spite of stuff like
nothing has ever been given to us. We've had to push for everything we get. And I admire those young people. It's such a pity that folk had to lose their lives for us to give attention to what should be our birthright. I feel like Juneteenth is that bridge. I feel like if people understand that it's not just a festival, I'm wanting these young people to know that they are our future, that they have got to continue what many of them are doing. They need to know that nothing is given to us. We have to continue to ask for, barter for, and get what we need the best way we can. I do not condone violence, but I'm saying they can take us much further than we've come already. And it's left to them. We're dependent on them to get us to the finish line.
Yes. The one and only Opal Lee. And I think it's important for young people to understand that a lot of these things are given, or at least the perception is that they're given to Black people, but really what they are is about placating the Black community. That's really all it's about. It's about placating and trying to sap that revolutionary energy that we have in our community. And it's very important that we as Black people do not let that revolutionary energy die.
Mm.
So I absolutely agree with where she's coming from. But Joe Biden, in all this, the fervor of this month, whether from Tulsa to Juneteenth, he has said, he's come out and he said that he is vowing to close the vast and persistent difference between the assets of African Americans and white people. The racial wealth gap stems from injustices going back to the era of slavery and is reflected today in factors like home valuation and access to credit. In all, the racial gap was recently estimated by Duke economist William Sandy Darity to stand at $11.2 trillion. I said $11.2 trillion.
Wow.
Biden has offered nowhere near that amount, instead introducing a raft of proposed programs, including $31 billion for small business development and $10 billion for infrastructure upgrades in communities that had been neglected by Washington for generations. And now he wants to reverse decades of what has come to be known as systemic racism. Although some of his proposals, like the infrastructure and business development funds, require the passage of his American Jobs Plan by a bitterly divided Congress, others do not. The president instructed the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development to focus on countering housing practices with discriminatory effects. Those practices have recently come under the scrutiny, with historians uncovering blatant discriminatory practices of the Federal Housing Administration and other federal agencies that helped create the post-war white middle class while depriving Black Americans the same upward mobility. The result of that, a house in a Black neighborhood is worth 23% less than a similar house in a similar neighborhood occupied by white people. That difference amounts to $48,000 per house, or $156 billion nationwide wealth gap. Well, gap in terms of household wealth, according to the 2018 Brookings Institution analysis of Black asset ownership. Now, Rev, I'm looking at all this stuff that Joe Biden's talking, and that key sentence, there was a key sentence in there where he said some of it is dependent on passage by a bitterly and divided Congress. Now note that, a bitterly divided Congress. Now when we get back, we have to go to a break. But when we get back, I'm going to get into that strategy of using that bitter and divided Congress to keep from having to do things, particularly for the Black community that have done so much for not only Joe Biden, but other politicians as well. We'll be right back after this here on Issues and Answers on WLTH 1370 AM. Please give us a call, 219-885-1371. And if you didn't hear me this time, let me tell you again. You are listening to Cannon Rev on WLTH 1370 AM. Give us a call, 219-885-1371.